The mysterious encounter. The stars stretched like a silver ocean outside the window of the research ship Odyssey. Dr. Elias Carter sat alone in the control room, his fingers tapping against the console. He was a human engineer, trained to study old ruins and forgotten technology across deep space. Most days were quiet, hours of scanning empty systems, recording data, and sending it back to Earth. But this night was not quiet. A faint signal buzzed on the communication screen. It was weak, almost broken, as if traveling from far away. Elias frowned and adjusted the receiver. The static cleared for a second and he heard a sound. It was not machine noise. It was a voice, soft, trembling, almost like a whisper. "Help. Please." He froze. Signals like this were rare. Out here, light years away from trade routes, there should have been no one. He replayed the transmission 3 times. Each time the same broken cry for help. "Captain?" Elias called over the intercom. "We've picked up something strange." The captain's voice came back, tired but firm. "Ignore it. Could be interference. We don't take risks this far out." Elias hesitated. His training told him to follow orders, but his gut told him otherwise. That voice didn't sound like random static. It sounded alive. It sounded desperate. He waited until the crew went to rest, then quietly rerouted the ship's course. Hours later, the Odyssey entered orbit around a ruined planet. The surface was dark, cracked, and silent. No cities, no signals of life. But deep in the shadow of a mountain, Elias detected faint energy. Against all protocol, he prepared a shuttle and descended. The shuttle landed on the broken ground. Dust rose in clouds, covering the sky in gray. Elias stepped out, his helmet light cutting through the gloom. The air was thin, the silence heavy. Every step echoed as he moved toward the mountain. There, half buried in stone, he found what looked like a temple. Strange symbols were carved on the walls, glowing faintly. The energy signature came from inside. Elias pushed the heavy door open and stepped into the dark. At first, he saw nothing. Just broken statues and collapsed pillars. Then in the center of the hall, he saw her. A figure lay on the floor, weak and trembling. Her skin glowed faint silver under the light. Her hair was long, braided with crystal-like strands, and her eyes closed, scarred as if blinded long ago. Elias knelt beside her. She flinched, whispering in a language he almost didn't understand. "Please, do not let them take me." Shock ran through him. This was no ordinary traveler. She looked noble, royal. He could feel it in the way she held herself, even in pain. And she was alien, yet strangely human in form. Before he could answer, a sound echoed through the temple. Heavy boots, metal scraping, voices speaking in harsh tones. Elias quickly dragged the alien woman behind a broken statue and turned off his helmet light. Shadows moved across the walls. Armed soldiers entered the temple. Their armor was black, marked with the crest of a hawk. They carried plasma rifles, scanning every corner. One of them spoke. "She is close." "The princess cannot have escaped far." Elias's heart pounded. "Princess?" He looked at the alien woman, who pressed a trembling hand to her lips, begging him not to move. The soldiers spread out, checking the ruins. One passed so close that Elias could see the glowing red light of his visor. The princess gripped his sleeve tightly, her breath shaking. After long minutes, the soldiers cursed and left the hall. "Search the southern tunnels. She must not survive." Their voices faded into the distance. Elias finally let out a breath. He looked down at the princess. She was still weak, her body trembling. Slowly she spoke again, this time in broken English. "Human, help me." Elias stared at her glowing eyes, scarred and blind. His orders said he should return to his ship, report the finding, and let the crew decide. But something inside him whispered otherwise. He reached out a hand. "You're safe with me," he said quietly. "I'll help you." The princess leaned against him, trusting him without question. For a moment, Elias felt the weight of the choice he had just made. This was no ordinary rescue. Whoever hunted her would not stop. And by helping her, he had just stepped into a story far greater than his own. Outside, the ruined planet remained silent. But far above, in the cold emptiness of space, ships were already moving. The hunters had not given up. The game had just begun. The forbidden, healing Elias guided the alien princess through the ruined temple, each step slow and careful. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dark, but her eyes remained closed, blind and scarred. She leaned on him, her breath shaky, whispering in fragments of English mixed with her own language. They reached the shuttle hidden in the shadows outside. Elias helped her inside and lifted off quickly before the soldiers could return. The planet grew small behind them, vanishing into the star-speckled void. Inside the shuttle, the princess sat quietly, her hands trembling. Elias placed a blanket over her shoulders. "My name is Elias," he said gently. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Liara." Her voice was soft but carried a strange weight, as if it had once commanded entire worlds. Elias studied her, her scars cut across her eyes like burning lines. Whoever had blinded her had done it with cruelty. "Liara," Elias repeated, testing the name. "You're safe now. But those soldiers, they were hunting you. Why?" Liara lowered her head. "Because I am the last of my line." He waited, but she said no more. Instead, she touched her face, her fingers brushing the scars. "I cannot see." "I am useless," her words struck him. He thought of the equipment back on the Odyssey. The implants, the experimental biotech designed to replace damaged eyes. They were not meant for aliens, only humans. The protocols were clear: never cross species, never risk contamination. But looking at Liara, Elias felt his chest tighten. She was not just a victim. She was someone powerful, someone hunted, and without her sight she could not even defend herself. When the shuttle docked, Elias sneaked her into his private lab. The rest of the crew was still asleep, unaware of the passenger he had brought aboard. Liara sat on the exam chair, her hands gripping the armrests. "What are you doing?" she asked nervously. Elias opened a small metal case. Inside lay 2 shining implants, artificial eyes, delicate machines made of silver fibers and living cells. They pulsed faintly with light. "These are not meant for you," Elias admitted, "but they can work. They can give you back your vision." "Maybe more." Liara stiffened. "Human technology inside me? It is forbidden. Do you want to stay blind?" Elias asked quietly. Her lips parted, but no sound came. She trembled, torn between fear and hope. Finally she whispered, "Do it." Elias took a deep breath. He had done this surgery many times on humans, but this was different. If he failed, she might die. If he succeeded, he might have broken the first law of space travel. Still, his hands were steady as he began, the lab filled with the soft hum of machines. Elias carefully removed the scarred tissue, replacing it with the glowing implants. Liara did not cry out. She lay perfectly still, her breathing calm as if she had prepared for this pain long ago. Hours passed. Finally, Elias adjusted the last connection. The implants lit up, glowing faintly blue. "Open your eyes," he said. Slowly, Liara's lids lifted. At first her gaze was unfocused, blind again. Then, with a sudden spark, her new eyes adjusted. She gasped. The lights of the lab reflected in her irises, eyes that now glowed with silver and blue fire. I can see," she whispered, her voice trembling with awe. She looked at her hands, then at Elias, studying his face with wonder. For the first time she truly saw him. But something was strange. As she turned her head, her implants flickered, catching invisible patterns in the air. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, symbols Elias himself had never seen. "What is that?" Elias asked, shocked. Liara stood, her glowing eyes scanning the room. "I can see more than light. I can see codes, maps, energy." She touched a panel on the wall. Symbols appeared, ancient star maps hidden in layers of reality no human could detect. Elias stared in disbelief. His implants had not just restored her vision. They had unlocked something inside her blood, something ancient and powerful. Liara turned to him, her eyes blazing like twin stars. "You should not have done this," she said softly. Elias felt his stomach drop. "Why?" "Because now they will know," she whispered. "The core dominion will feel my sight return, and they will come with fire." Almost as if answering her words, the ship's alarm blared. Enemy ships were closing in, core warships, massive and dark, sliding through space like predators. Elias looked at her glowing eyes, then at the flashing red lights of the alarm. He realized the truth. Healing her had set off a signal like a beacon in the void. He had given her sight, but he had also started a war. Liara's voice was calm, almost sorrowful. "You healed me, Elias Carter, and now the galaxy will bleed." Howestaham, the enemy, awakens. The alarm echoed through the corridors of the Odyssey. Red lights pulsed across the walls, and the hum of engines shifted into a sharp roar as the ship prepared for evasive maneuvers. Elias ran to the control deck with Liara close behind. Her new eyes glowed like silver fire, scanning faster than any human system. Through the viewport, dark shapes emerged from the stars. Core warships, massive, sharp-edged, like hunting birds carved from black steel. Their crimson lights glared across the void. "They found us," Elias muttered, his chest tightening. Liara's gaze stayed fixed on the enemy ships. "I told you." They felt my vision return. The Corps have hunted me for years. Now they know I live. The captain of the Odyssey stormed into the deck furious. "Carter, what have you done?" "Who is this passenger?" Elias had no time to explain. "No time. We need to jump to hyperspace, now." The captain glared at Liara. "You brought her aboard? A fugitive?" Before he could argue further, the first blast struck. The ship shuddered, alarms shrieking. "The Corps had opened fire. Shields failing," the pilot shouted. Liara gripped the edge of the console, her glowing eyes sweeping across the data screens. "Their attack is not random. They are targeting our jump core. They want us trapped." "How do you know that?" the captain demanded. "Because I can see their patterns," Liara answered simply. "Their ships broadcast energy I can read. It is like language to me." Another blast shook the Odyssey. Sparks flew from the ceiling and smoke filled the air. Elias rushed to the controls. "Then tell us how to escape." Liara's eyes narrowed. "The asteroid field ahead. It is dangerous, but their ships are larger than yours. They cannot follow as easily." The captain hesitated, then slammed his fist on the console. "Pilot, set course for the field." The Odyssey swerved sharply, racing toward the jagged cluster of rocks spinning in the darkness. Behind them, the core fleet spread out, black wings unfurling like predators circling prey. The asteroids loomed large, tumbling and colliding with one another. The ship darted between them, weaving through narrow gaps. Chunks of stone scraped against the shields. Inside the cockpit, the crew's faces were pale with fear. But Liara was calm, her eyes glowing brighter. She guided Elias with sharp instructions. "Turn 30 degrees, now. Drop altitude, there. Fire thrusters, left side." Each command carried them through impossible gaps. Missiles from the core ship smashed into asteroids, breaking them apart in fiery bursts. Still, the hunters pressed closer. Suddenly, one of the core ships forced its way into the field, chasing directly behind them. Its weapons locked on. "They're too fast," Elias whispered. Liara stepped forward. "Not fast, predictable." She reached across the console, touching a screen. Strange glowing symbols flickered, invisible to the crew but clear to her eyes. She pressed a sequence and the Odyssey's weapons shifted, targeting a massive asteroid above. "Fire there," she commanded. Elias hesitated, then obeyed. The blast struck the rock, shattering it into thousands of fragments. The pieces rained down onto the pursuing ship, tearing through its hull. The core vessel spun out of control, crashing into another asteroid before exploding in a burst of fire. The crew stared in shock. Elias looked at Liara, realizing she had seen the outcome before it happened. The captain's voice was low, filled with awe. "What exactly is she?" Liara turned slowly, her eyes glowing like two stars. "I am the last princess of the Orion Dominion. My family once ruled half the galaxy. The Corps destroyed us, blinded me, and left me to die. But now," her gaze darkened. "Now I see again." The Odyssey shook violently. Another core ship had locked on, launching a barrage of plasma fire. "Shields at 20%, the pilot cried. "We can't hold much longer," Elias said. Liara placed her hands on the console. "Give me access to your navigation system." The captain hesitated. "Why?" "Because your human eyes see only half the path. Mine see more." Elias didn't wait for permission. He linked the navigation controls to her implants. At once, streams of alien symbols and maps filled the screens. Pathways lit up, invisible to human sight, showing routes through the asteroid field no computer could calculate. Liara's voice rang clear. "Follow my lead." The Odyssey surged forward, darting through impossible paths. The crew watched in disbelief as the ship glided between asteroids that should have been too close to clear. The Corps fired again and again, but every shot missed. Finally, with one last sharp turn, the Odyssey broke free of the asteroid field. The stars stretched wide before them. Behind, the Corps fleet hesitated, unable to follow. The ship fell silent except for the hum of engines. The crew exhaled in relief. But Elias knew it was only temporary. Liara stood tall, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars ahead. "This is only the beginning. The Corps will not stop. They fear what I carry, and now they will come with everything they have." Aerys studied her, his thoughts heavy. What do you carry, Liara? She turned to him, her voice soft but filled with steel. The memory of a fallen empire, and the key to its return. The crew exchanged nervous glances. The captain rubbed his temples, already sensing the storm ahead. For Aerys, the truth was clear. Saving Liara had not only changed her fate, it had changed the fate of the entire galaxy. The princess's secret. The Odyssey drifted in the quiet dark of space. The crew worked silently, repairing burned panels and sealing ruptured pipes. The smell of smoke still clung to the air after the battle. Outside, the stars looked calm, but everyone on board knew the calm would not last. Aerys sat in the medbay, watching Liara. She rested on the bed, her glowing eyes closed, her breathing steady. The implants had changed her. She looked stronger, her posture more certain, her presence heavier, as if a crown invisible to human eyes rested on her head. When she finally opened her eyes, Aerys leaned closer. You saved us back there. Without you, the core would have torn us apart. Liara gave a faint smile. I did not save you. I saved us both. You tied your fate to mine the moment you gave me sight. Aerys lowered his voice. Then tell me the truth. Why are they hunting you? What do you carry that terrifies them so much? Her eyes glowed brighter. For a long time she said nothing. Then softly she began, the Lost Dominion. My people were the Aurian Dominion. Long before humans left their homeworld, the Aurian ruled across hundreds of systems. We built cities that floated between suns, and we carved roads through wormholes no other race dared to touch. Her voice was calm, but Aerys could hear the ache beneath it. But empires fall. The core rose from the shadows. They were ruthless, cunning, always striking at the heart. They blinded me to silence me, for my blood carries what they fear most, the Dominion's star maps. Aerys frowned. Star maps? What's so dangerous about maps? Liara turned her glowing eyes toward him. Not maps of space. Maps of power. My ancestors hid weapons, fleets, and strongholds across the galaxy, each locked behind codes in our DNA. The core destroyed my family to keep those secrets buried, but I survived, and now thanks to you I can see the codes again. The revelation, she raised her hand. A faint web of silver light spread across her skin, symbols glowing in patterns like constellations. Aerys leaned closer. The symbols shifted, forming star paths, gates, and coordinates. These are not written, Liara whispered. They are alive. They awaken only when my sight is whole. That is why the core fear me. With these maps I can awaken the weapons of my people. Aerys stared in awe. He had studied ancient technology his whole life, but never had he seen living maps written into flesh and blood. Then we have an advantage, he said. We can use these weapons to fight back. Liara's expression hardened. Or to burn the galaxy again. Power saved my people once, but it also blinded them. If I awaken it, I must choose carefully who holds it. The crew's doubt later in the strategy chamber, Liara stood before the crew. The star maps flickered around her, her body glowing like a beacon. The crew gasped at the sight. The captain crossed his arms. So you're saying the core want you dead because you can lead us to hidden superweapons? Yes, Liara answered calmly. And they will hunt you now because you have sheltered me. A murmur spread through the crew. Fear weighed heavy in the air. One officer slammed his hand on the table. We didn't sign up to start a galactic war. We're explorers, not soldiers. Another added, if the core want her, maybe we should hand her over before we're all killed. Aerys stood quickly, anger flashing. You don't understand. If they kill her, they will erase the last hope of resisting them. You've seen what they're capable of. But doubt remained. The captain's eyes lingered on Liara, uncertain. If you truly carry these maps, then prove it. Show us something worth risking our lives for. The hidden system. Liara closed her eyes. The implants flared, reading signals invisible to human tech. Symbols spun around her, forming a path through the stars. She raised her hand and a glowing system appeared in the air. A hidden world cloaked behind a dead nebula. There, she said, the vault of Aerys. My family hid a fleet there. Ships built with power no empire today could match. If we reach it, we can stand against the core. The crew stared at the glowing image. It was beautiful and terrifying, a promise of salvation and destruction alike. The captain finally spoke. If this is true, we have only one choice. Head for that system. Aerys nodded, but Liara's voice cut through the chamber. Understand this. If we go, we step into war. There is no turning back. The shadow watching later, as the Odyssey changed course toward the hidden system, Liara stood by the viewport. Her reflection in the glass was strange, her glowing eyes burning like two stars in the void. Elias joined her quietly. "Do you trust them?" he asked, nodding toward the crew. Liara's gaze remained on the stars. "Some hearts are loyal. Others are weak. The Corps know how to twist fear into betrayal. Already I can feel it. Someone among us doubts too deeply." Elias's stomach tightened. He remembered the frightened voices in the chamber. Could one of them turn traitor? Before he could speak, Liara's eyes flickered again. Her implants caught something distant, faint, but certain. "They are still following," she whispered. Elias looked out, seeing only empty stars. "Who?" "The Corps," Liara said. "They are patient. They will wait until the moment we are close to the vault. Then they will strike with fire enough to burn the sky." Her voice was steady, but Elias could feel the weight behind it. The secret was out. The maps were alive again, and now the galaxy would bleed to possess them. Betrayal in the stars. The Odyssey glided through the black ocean of space, its hull scarred from past battles. For days the crew worked in silence, repairing what they could while keeping their eyes on the stars. The ship followed the course Liara had revealed, a hidden path leading to the vault of Aerys. But silence did not mean peace. Beneath the surface, fear was spreading like cracks in glass. Whispers among the crew in the mess hall. Voices were low, almost whispers. "She's dangerous," one officer muttered, glancing toward the closed door where Liara rested. "If the Corps fear her this much, maybe they're right," another nodded nervously. "We're explorers, not soldiers. We didn't sign up to carry an alien princess with glowing eyes." Across the room, Elias sat alone, listening but saying nothing. His stomach tightened with every word. He wanted to defend Liara, but he knew the doubt had already taken root. The crew had seen the star maps, seen the promise of power, but instead of hope, some felt only terror. When he rose to leave, the whispers died. Their eyes followed him, sharp with suspicion. The secret message that night, one crew member slipped quietly into the communications bay. He was young, his hands shaking as he activated the hidden transmitter. His name was Velan, a technician who had always feared the unknown more than he admitted. His message was short, broken into coded bursts. To Corps Command. "Princess is alive, aboard human ship Odyssey. Coordinates follow." He ended the transmission, sweat dripping down his face. He told himself it was the right choice. The Corps would spare them if they gave her up, maybe even reward him. But deep down he knew the truth. He had just marked his own ship for death. The outpost, 2 days later, the Odyssey reached a remote trading outpost on the edge of a barren system. It was a lonely station, orbiting a gas giant, its lights flickering like tired lanterns. The captain ordered a stop for supplies and fuel. Elias, uneasy, walked beside Liara through the docking bay. The outpost smelled of rust and stale air. Traders eyed them with curiosity, but most looked away when they saw Liara's glowing eyes. "They fear me," Liara murmured. "They don't understand you," Elias said softly. "Fear always comes first." But Liara's gaze was distant, unsettled. "No, this fear is different. It smells of betrayal." Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" Her implants glowed brighter. "Someone has already spoken. The Corps know where we are." The ambush, the first shot came when the crew was loading supplies. A thunderous blast shook the outpost, windows shattering. Sirens wailed as red lights filled the docking bay. From the void outside, dark Corps ships descended, weapons blazing. They fired on the station, cutting off escape routes. Civilians screamed and scattered. "They're here!" Elias shouted. The crew scrambled back toward the Odyssey, but Liara froze, her glowing eyes fixed on the flames beyond the viewport. They knew exactly where to strike. "This is no accident." Another blast struck near the bay. Metal twisted and collapsed, crushing ships and scattering fire. The outpost descended into chaos. The captain yelled, "Move! Everyone aboard!" Elias pulled Liara toward the ramp, but her words cut through the noise. "There is a traitor among you." The betrayal revealed. On the control deck, chaos reigned. The crew scrambled to lift the ship as the outpost burned. Plasma fire rained against the shields. Elias turned to the captain. "She's right. They shouldn't have found us so fast." Someone told them. The captain's eyes were cold. "Then find out who." Liara stood in the center of the deck, her implants glowing brighter than ever. I can see patterns not of stars, but of hearts. Fear leaves traces. Her gaze swept across the crew. Some looked away, nervous. Others held their breath. Then her eyes locked on one man, Valen. The young technician froze, his face pale. No, I just wanted to save us. Elias stepped forward. You sent them our coordinates. Valen's hands shook. They promised mercy. If we gave her up, they'd let us live. The captain's voice turned sharp as steel. And you believed them? The Corps don't give mercy. Outside, another blast rocked the ship. The shield screamed under the pressure. Liara's eyes burned with fury, though her voice was calm. Your fear has doomed us all, but your choice cannot be undone. The escape. The Odyssey roared to life, engines burning as it tore free of the docking clamps. The outpost collapsed in flames behind them, torn apart by Corps fire. Corps ships swarmed, cutting off their path. Missiles streaked through space, exploding around them. Liara grabbed Elias's arm. The maps show a path through the nebula ahead. Follow it or we die. Elias relayed the course to the pilot. The ship swerved sharply, plunging into the glowing cloud of the nebula. Colors swirled outside, reds and purples twisting like fire and smoke. The Corps followed close, their weapons carving through the haze. In the chaos, Valen was dragged away by guards, his face pale with regret. He cried out as they locked him in the brig. I didn't mean for this. I thought I was saving us. But no one listened. The ship screamed through the nebula, chased by shadows. The cost of betrayal. Finally, after endless minutes of fire and pursuit, the Odyssey burst out the far side of the nebula. Silence returned. The Corps ships had pulled back, unwilling to risk the unstable cloud. The crew sat in stunned silence. They had survived, but barely. Elias turned to Liara. We made it. Her eyes still glowed, cold and fierce. For now. But remember this, betrayal always comes from within before it comes from without. The Corps will not stop, and others may still doubt. She looked out at the stars, her voice low. The real war has only begun. The first strike. The Odyssey floated in the cold silence after the nebula chase. The hull was scorched, the crew shaken, and trust among them thinner than glass. Valen's betrayal still lingered like poison in the air. No one spoke of it, but everyone felt it. In the strategy chamber, Liara stood before the crew. The star maps shimmered in the air around her, symbols pulsing from her glowing eyes. The hidden path had led them here, to a dark, empty system with a single dead world. The captain frowned at the screen. This place is a grave. Are you certain the vault of Aerys is here? Liara's voice was steady. The vault does not rest on the surface. It sleeps inside the planet. Elias leaned forward. Inside, you mean buried? No, Liara whispered. The planet is not real. It is a shell. The crew exchanged nervous glances. The idea seemed impossible. But as Liara raised her hand, the implants flickered and the holographic maps shifted. The planet before them fractured into lines of light, revealing a massive hollow sphere hidden inside, a weapon so large it dwarfed anything human eyes had ever seen. A silence fell across the room. That, Liara said softly, is the heart of Aerys. A fortress, a fleet, a weapon built to defend the Dominion when all else failed. The awakening, the Odyssey descended into the dead planet's crust, following narrow tunnels lit only by Liara's guidance. Finally, they entered a vast chamber where walls of ancient alloy stretched for miles. In the center, a dormant core pulsed faintly like a heart waiting to beat. Elias stared in awe. This isn't just a fortress. It's alive, Liara nodded. Orient technology was built with life itself. Metal fused with memory. It has waited for me. She stepped forward, placing her hands on the core. Her eyes flared and symbols spread across the walls. The chamber shook as the fortress began to stir. Engines long silent roared to life. Weapons powered up, glowing like suns. Across the hollow sphere, massive cannons emerged, shifting toward the void outside. The heart of Aerys was waking. The enemy arrives, but they were not alone. Outside, the void filled with black wings as Corps warships descended in formation. The betrayal at the outpost had guided them here too. The captain's voice broke through the comms. They're deploying an entire fleet. Hundreds of ships. Elias clenched his fists. They knew she'd come for this. Liara's voice was calm, though her eyes burned with fire. They will not take it. The first blast struck, shaking the planet's crust. The Corps fleet unleashed fire, drilling through the tunnels, racing toward the chamber. On the Odyssey, alarms screamed. "We can't hold against that many," the pilot shouted. Liara raised her hand. "We won't. The heart will." The first strike, the fortress's core pulsed brighter, sending energy rippling through the hollow world. Outside, the surface cracked apart, revealing the true shape of the heart of Aerys, a planet-sized weapon emerging from its shell. The core fleet scattered, panicked. But their retreat was too late. The heart's main cannon ignited. A beam of pure light erupted wide as a continent, carving through space. Entire wings of core ships vanished in a single instant, torn apart like paper in flame. The crew gasped, staring in disbelief. Elias's chest pounded. He had seen weapons before, but nothing like this. This was not war, it was annihilation. Liara's voice was heavy. "The first strike has been made. The galaxy will feel it. The choice, but the strike had consequences." The fortress's core flickered violently, draining energy from the entire system. Planets around them cracked and collapsed under the pull. The heart of Aerys was powerful but unstable. Elias turned to Liara, fear in his eyes. "This thing could destroy everything. If we use it again, how many lives will it take?" Liara did not answer at once. Her face was calm, but her voice carried sorrow. "My ancestors built it to save us, but they also built it to rule. That is the truth of the Dominion." The captain slammed his fist against the console. "We can't control this." "It's too much," Liara looked at him with her burning eyes. "And if we do nothing? The core will spread across every star, enslaving every people. Sometimes to stop a fire, you must burn the forest before it grows." The crew fell silent, torn between awe and fear. The heart was salvation, but also a curse. The second wave, before anyone could decide, sensors lit up. More core ships arrived, thousands this time, stretching across the void like a sea of black wings. Elias's heart dropped. That first strike called them. We didn't scare them. We challenged them. Liara's expression hardened. Then we must show them we are not prey. The fortress roared to life again, cannons swiveling, smaller weapons igniting across its surface. The Odyssey docked within, swallowed by the massive structure. The crew prepared for battle. The galaxy outside had changed. No longer silent, no longer hidden. The first strike had sounded like a bell, and now the war had begun. The oath as the heart of Aerys prepared to fire again. Elias stood beside Liara. He looked at her glowing eyes, the fire in her voice, the weight she carried. "You're not just a survivor anymore," he said quietly. "You're a leader." Liara's gaze stayed fixed on the dark horizon where the enemy fleet gathered. Her voice was steady, a whisper but also a promise. "I am Liara of Orion, daughter of the lost Dominion, heir to its secrets, and from this day I will not run. The galaxy will know my name again." Outside, the cannons flared. The first true battle of the new war was about to begin. War Begins, the heart of Aerys glowed like a newborn star, its vast cannons burning against the dark. Inside the command chamber, the crew of the Odyssey stood at their stations, every face pale, every eye fixed on the endless swarm of core ships filling the void. It was not a fleet. It was an ocean. Thousands of black vessels stretched across the horizon, their red lights pulsing like the eyes of predators. Elias swallowed hard. "We can't fight that many." Liara stood at the center, her glowing eyes calm but fierce. "We will not fight them all." The heart was built to hold the line. "We strike, we survive, and we show the galaxy that the Orion Dominion lives again," the captain muttered under his breath. "Or we show the galaxy a weapon that should have stayed buried." The storm breaks. The first wave of core ships dove forward. Plasma fire streaked across the void, slamming into the heart's surface. Shields rippled, straining but holding. Liara raised her hands and the implants in her eyes flared. Ancient systems lit up in response. Cannons turned, targeting with perfect precision. "Fire," she commanded, the heart answered. A barrage of light erupted, tearing through the first wave like fire through paper. Entire squadrons vanished, their wreckage scattering into the dark. The crew gasped. For a moment it seemed possible. For a moment they believed. But the swarm kept coming. For every ship destroyed, a dozen more pressed forward. The fracture inside the fortress, alarms wailed. Energy drained faster than the reactors could feed. The heart trembled, its ancient system straining under the awakening. Elias worked frantically at the controls. "The core is unstable. If we keep firing at this rate, the entire structure could collapse." Liara's voice was steady. The heart was built for this. It will endure. But Elias saw the truth in the readouts. The fortress was not eternal. It was breaking under its own power. He turned to the captain. If we don't slow down, this thing could tear itself apart. The captain's eyes hardened. Then we choose. Burn now or be swallowed whole. The turning point, a massive shadow loomed ahead. The core flagship advanced, a giant vessel shaped like a blade, larger than the Odyssey by 100-fold. Its weapons charged, glowing blood red. Liara's eyes narrowed. That ship is their leader. If we strike it down, the rest will scatter. Elias stared at the glowing beast. And if we miss? Then we die, Liara said simply. The crew held their breath as the Heart's main cannon shifted. The fortress groaned, pulling all its energy into a single strike. The chamber shook. The air buzzed with raw power. Now, Liara whispered. The Heart unleashed its fury. A beam brighter than a sun carved through the void, slamming into the core flagship. For a heartbeat, the ship resisted, shields flaring red. Then it shattered, breaking into fragments that burned like meteors. The core fleet wavered. Their formation broke, chaos spreading through their ranks. Cheers erupted inside the chamber. For the first time, the crew felt hope. The signal, but Liara did not smile. She stood still, her glowing eyes unfocused, as if listening to something distant. Elias noticed. What is it? Her voice was low. The strike was not silent. The Heart has awakened not just to us, but to all. The crew fell silent. What do you mean? The captain asked. Liara turned slowly, her eyes burning brighter. Across the galaxy, old powers will feel this. Empires sleeping in shadows, rivals waiting in silence. They will know the Dominion's weapon has returned. And they will come, just as the core came. But not all will come to destroy. Some will come to claim it. Elias felt a chill run through him. The Heart was not just a shield, it was a beacon, calling to every corner of the galaxy. The price of victory was not free. The fortress shook violently, its core dimming. Systems flickered, power failing in sections. Elias rushed to the readouts. We've burned half its energy in one strike. If we keep using it like this, it won't survive another battle. Liara's expression was unreadable. Then we must find another way. The Heart was never meant to be used lightly. It demands a price. The captain turned sharply. And what if the price is us? No one answered. The silence was heavier than the stars. The war begins hours later. The wreckage of core ships floated silently outside. Survivors fled into the dark, but the victory felt hollow. The crew knew this was only the first battle. In the command chamber, Elias stood beside Liara. She gazed out at the debris, her voice quiet but sharp as steel. The core will not stop. The others will not stay silent. The galaxy has seen the Dominion's fire once more. From this day, every world must choose to stand with us or against us. Elias's chest tightened. You mean, the war has already begun? Liara turned to him, her glowing eyes fierce. Yes, and you, Elias Carter, are now part of it. You gave me sight, and now you must see what follows. Together we will decide if the galaxy rises, or burns. The chamber fell silent as the crew absorbed her words. Outside, the stars looked unchanged, but everyone knew the truth. The galaxy was no longer at peace. The first strike had been fired. The Dominion's secret was awake, and war had begun.